Decision Diaries with Lynn and Jami.
Welcome to Decision Diaries. Today we are going to be talking about closing and selling a business. And we have a special guest with us, Roger Lim, who just recently sold a business. And Jami asked me the question, how do I know Roger?
Well, first of all, shouldn't you have said the decision? Because we want to know what the decision was and how he made the decision. But yes, I have no idea how you know Roger. So Roger, is Lynn going to tell a better story, or are you?
I think I'm going to tell.
I would love to hear her perspective.
All right. Okay.
Okay. So I met Roger in Atlantic Beach when I was 15 years old. He was 17. I was wearing a two-piece bikini. I was probably a third of the size that I am right now. Probably. And he was my first car date. And my mom made an exception for him to allow him to take me on a car date. And then ultimately, I don't know how long we dated.
Car date.
Yeah, a truck
funny.
date, I'd say.
That's funny.
Yeah, you had that nice truck. I don't know how long we dated. All I know is he broke up with me on his birthday when I brought him a gift at Wendy's.
Oh my God. I do
wow,
not remember
Roger.
I do not remember. I do remember the truck and I remember the car date. I don't remember the birthday gift.
You don't remember the birthday gift?
No.
Oh, my mom totally knew you were going to break up with me. So she bought me a new outfit. And then she bought you a shirt that she knew probably wouldn't fit. And then when I gave it to you, my mom had rehearsed with me that you were going to say, oh, I can't accept this because, I just want to be friends. And then she trained me to just leave the gift with you, tell you the party I was going to. And then my mom was waiting in the parking lot as I walked towards her crying.
Oh my God.
Okay.
That is such an emotional story.
But we've been friends ever since. And then in high school, we would talk till 2 or 3 in the morning. So why Roger is here is because I was looking at Facebook and then I saw your video of you at what appears to be a brewery, and right behind you it says entrepreneurial rant.
Yes.
And I think you so eloquently captured everything about owning a business, closing a business, selling a business. And I thought, okay, this is perfect. We have to have him come here while he's still having all these feelings because it's so recent.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well, I have a few questions before we even go into that, which I love the entrepreneurial rant, but the decision to date Lynn. Okay. So what was it about Lynn that, captivated you? And then ultimately, why did you break up with her on your birthday?
I don't even recall that part, but I do remember she used to dance with one of my good friends. She was in a dance troupe. And one of my best friends was her captain, Melissa.
Yeah, that's right,
and
Melissa.
So I just remember asking Melissa who she was. And then she was like, oh, that's one of the freshmen or something like that.
Yeah, I was in 9th grade. He was in 11th grade.
I was? I thought you were in 10th and I was in 12th. Whatever. Anyway, it was a couple years difference. Scandalous now, I'm sure. But yeah, I don't remember any of that. I remember being at her house all the time playing pool because she always had parties at her house. She had a really cool house with a pool table. Yeah, so
and he's half Filipino. I ended up dating your cousin Eric.
Oh, that's right.
And then you kind of kicked
He's
off.
Younger.
You kind of kicked off the whole Filipino, Lynn's dating a lot of Filipinos. So.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
It must be the food.
It's the
I was going to say the food is really good. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my son is dating a Filipino. I think he's going to marry one.
Okay. All right. Girl, bringing her back in. Okay, Roger, so she sees you on a rant talking about an entrepreneurial rant, which I understand completely. I just don't put it on Facebook. What was your business, and tell us a little about that. How did you go?
So for the last 8 years, I owned a bar restaurant, and basically, I don't know if you've heard of Pachucacha or Pechacucha, depending on how you say it, but it's an organization that kind of shares ideas and stories of people. But the lady had been asking me for at least a decade to do this, and I never ever agreed or wanted to or whatever. But the last time she asked me, I didn't say no. I'd already sold the restaurant. I didn't say no. And she was like, oh, well, I'm going to put you down. I was like, well, I'm not saying yes, but I didn't say no. So anyway, I get home and the theme was industry, like hospitality industry. And I get home and I remembered this journal entry that I made like 2 years ago.
Wow.
And
you should have brought it.
I said, oh man, I guess I'm doing that because that's what this was written for. And no one is going to talk about this the way I'm going to talk about it, because everyone in the industry is going to say kind of the surface stuff and give template kind of, I'd say like stories regarding bartending and, everything revolving around the hospitality and meeting crazy people and making great friends, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, I'm just going to lay it out there. This is how it really is to own a business.
Okay. So you're describing what made you do the entrepreneurial rant. So I thought we were, okay. So, all right. I thought we were going into the decision to start the business, what the business was. So, okay.
We can do that.
All right.
So what was it? Describe for her what it is.
Well, let him finish the entrepreneurial rant. You just want people to know, like, this is the underbelly of what really goes on.
Yeah, so I took what I had written a couple of years ago, embellished it with an intro and an outro, updated it a little, and I did that, which is what she saw on Facebook. It was actually the video of me doing it live. I didn't like write an entrepreneurial rant on Facebook.
No,
I would never do. I'm not going to throw myself out there like that. But I did do I posted the video because it's kind of this worldwide organization. And my friend of mine actually captured it on video. So that's where she saw me and then contacted me like the next day. But the reason for doing the rant was, like I said, I opened the business like 8 years ago, went through all these hardships and ups and downs, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, a restaurant business, 2020, we got to talk about that.
Super stressful, pandemics, you name it, whatever else, the normal stress. And then went through a separation and lots of changes, basically.
Was the person that you were married to your partner in the business?
So she's actually 51% owner, because when we opened the business, we were like, hey, what's the best tax break, minority or woman? And she's a veteran also. They're like, woman veteran. And I'm like, 51%, like you own.
So, what's interesting is Jami also started her business that she still has.
Yeah.
When she was getting a divorce, and then her husband her ex-husband gave up the percentage,
right?
Because it really wasn't at the point where it was making money.
Right.
And then I'll just chime in here about my business at the time in 1994 when I owned an upscale lingerie store. I don't even know if you knew that or not.
I remember you telling me
but
about it,
I owned an upscale lingerie store, and I have some of my entries where I am not making money, and I am watching around me other stores closing, like Petunia Patch. I mean, some of the stores that have really been like longtime beach stores were starting to close around me. And so I kind of felt like the walls were coming around me, and I was in that moment trying to decide. So you're talking about 8 years is a long run.
Right.
And I want to know, Roger, what were you doing before, and what made you go into the restaurant business? Because I know that's a tough business, and I'm not in that business.
I mean, I've done a lot of different things, but basically for the last 20 plus years, I've been in hospitality in and out. But I've done everything from, the bottom to the top. And while I was married, the decision to open something was always there, to kind of like set up a retirement type thing that would generate money, even if I wasn't working, because hospitality is you make money when you work, you don't make money when you're not there.
Right.
It's based, strictly on whether you're working or not. It's not, anything other than that. And so when it all fell into place, that we did open the restaurant and the bar, she's never done anything hospitality ever.
Yeah.
But she ran the back end, like, everything back end, bookkeeping, payroll,
Yeah.
Everything that wasn't day-to-day operation in the restaurant, she took care of. And that's one of the reasons we were, kept going and made it, is because of her.
Yeah.
If I had to do it all by myself, I probably would have failed in 2 years.
It's very hard. Yeah, it's very hard to start a business alone. It wasn't my intention to go that route, but here I am.
But being able, like, there was no way I'd have been able to run the restaurant, be there 100 hours a week, and do the back end. It would have never happened. So, kudos to her for keeping us, open for as long as we were. But that was the purpose. Take all my experience and knowledge to open a place, do what we did, meet all our goals, eventually franchise, things like that, which we accomplished pretty much every goal. And then the pandemic hit right before we were about to franchise, / kind of like had investors that were looking into doing this. And of course they all backed off.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about selling, because I think, when you think about people listening to this who maybe have not started a business and they're thinking, okay, well, how do you, I don't know how to start a business. I definitely don't know how to sell a business.
Mm-hmm.
And back when I had my store, when I was thinking about selling the business, I didn't know how to go about it. I didn't know who to talk to about it.
Yeah.
I want to read kind of the day I decided to sell my business, because I actually found my 1996 journal on the day I decided to sell my business. And then it's funny because I'm just so naive. Okay, first of all, I'm like 26, so I'm really super naive. But and at this point, I believe I have moved in with my husband. So we're in an apartment in San Marco.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not making any money. So obviously this is not a hard decision. I need to do something. So I write on May 20th, 1997, I've decided to sell my business. I place an ad in last week's Times Union. Like what? Like, I don't know if anybody even looked at the Times Union, but so far I had a lot of calls. One person picked up my business plan and he is bringing it back today. He brought it back. He was quiet. When he looked over my financials, too quiet. I lost my self-confidence quickly. I mean, I would have sold the store for $2 after that look.
Right.
Please tell me that I will be able to laugh about this later in life. Tell me that this won't seem like such a big deal when I'm living in a house I own and I have a great job. I will be able to laugh then. Ha ha. So I'm laughing.
Here we are.
What premonition?
Roger, tell me, do you feel relieved? Are you feeling like that? How do you feel?
So the decision to sell, it wasn't necessarily hard for the decision, because like I said, the changes in my relationship and post-pandemic business and, things, just the culmination of changes made it very easy for me to be okay with selling. The problem was finding the right person.
Oh,
I did not want to leave it in the hands of someone who's, one, not capable of keeping it going.
Yeah.
Two, doesn't really fit my kind of values, or just in general.
It was more like an adoption.
Kind of, yeah. I'm like, they're adopting my child.
A business is a child.
We have been growing, for 8 years, blood, sweat, and tears, etc.
Yeah.
So we had lots of offers over the years, and some of them were viable and others were just like, no way.
Where were these offers coming from? That they would just walk in and be like, I like this place?
A lot of people just be like, we love this. Can we do something? Whatever. Like, a lot of people say that until you're like, show me the money.
Right. Here's my financials. What do you?
But in actuality, when we did decide to, there was several people who we went through the process and we're like, no, maybe, yes, this one fell through. Next person, blah, blah, blah. So everything kind of like, this person who ended up with it, they were the person that was meant to take it over.
Well, my grandfather had the Quality Cafe in Beaumont, Texas. And, he's getting into his like late 70s, and he sells the back of his restaurant to to somebody who supplied the salad dressing for Jason's Deli, and they made the Jason's Deli dressing in his back part. And then several people over the years offered him, but Italian, he was like, no, he enjoyed greeting people. It was his why he woke up every day. And then finally the perfect people came through, and they said, we'd love to take over the restaurant. You are welcome to come to the restaurant, hang out at the restaurant, greet the guests. Everybody is still coming to see Batista. They still want to see the original founder and owner.
Yes.
And so do you have that kind of agreement?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, to an extent, like the most important thing to me over all the years, which was your employees are your family, and like keeping them employed during a pandemic, keeping them paid during a pandemic, like no matter what.
Right.
I didn't lose anyone. I didn't have high turnover, and restaurants generally do. I did not have high turnover. But so,
well, he's a nice guy. Other than dumping me,
keeping the staff, anyone that wanted to stay, that was imperative. And they wanted everyone on my staff because they loved everyone on my staff.
Right.
But it's kind of like this, like I have to take care of them. I have to make sure that they're okay when I'm gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was part of it. Like I said, there was really a lot of organic overlapping coincidences that kind of made this the right people. I met them through someone else that I like those people. And then we just kind of like, it worked. It just worked and it fell into place. The offers were made, and it just kind of went from there and, kind of moved kind of quickly. So, and, we sold in February. They're transitioning from, the only thing they changed is the menu, really, the food menu.
Yeah.
But they're transitioning into their own entity, basically. But they bought everything that we built.
Yeah.
So the clientele, the brand, everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's interesting, Lynn. I don't know if you heard that, but there's another word. It all fell into place.
There we go. We say it every time.
Yeah. It seems to just, when you're following the path as it's unfolding and you're not forcing anything,
right.
Those things just sort of work themselves out.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So armchair, or I guess hindsight 2020, are you feeling, is it completely done? Is it, paper, ink dry, and
the contract is done. There's a few payments left. Overall, like they've been in there for 6 months. They took over in February. That's why I consider that the sale date, even though it started 3 months before that.
Yeah.
But they took over the bills and everything there from that point forward.
Oh, I could tell you, I would have just jumped for joy if I would have sold. If I would have sold my store, I would have jumped for joy. Just so everyone knows, if you go to Jacksonville Beach, and that little slither, I think you came by one time, a little slither, about 600 square feet, is now ironically a computer store, a computer repair store, which I just find completely ironic. And on my 40th birthday, I rented a limo. Remember that, Jamie? I rented a limo. You were in it. And we did all of Lynn's favorite things. And we got trashed in the limo. And I took a piece of my lingerie that I had kept from the store, and I wrote, apples, peaches, and pears was here. And I put it on the door of the computer store. And I bet they came in the next day and they were like, what kind of a crazy person leaves their lingerie on the front of this shopping center store? But I had to do it. Remember we took that picture? We were all drunk. We were all holding the lingerie up to ourselves.
That's fun.
Yeah. And so every time I drive by there, every time I'm at the beach and I hit JTB and I drive by, I'm like, wow. When I was there, it seemed like the minutes ticked, tick, tick, tick.
I have to tell you,
so slow.
I have to throw my ADHD at you for a minute. So for Lynn's 40th, she goes out and she gets tiaras for everybody. And there weren't enough tiaras with 40, so some people got 50. I was one of them. And my birthday is 21 days. Yours is January 8th or January 9th?
9th.
okay, 20 days after Lynn's to the day, and I get the 50. So I'm turning 40. I put the 50 tiara on, and I tell everybody that I am turning 50.
Right.
And they're like, "You look great." Like the thing to do.
That's
Just
awesome.
that was a sidebar. But okay,
That's
back
awesome.
to selling your business. So what's next for you? Because I mean, if you're 2 years older than Lynn, that puts you at 55.
I
Which
am,
is
yes.
not, not retirement age, I don't think,
I
unless
wish.
you're
Gosh,
huh?
I wish. I wish.
Yeah, I know. So what's next for you? What are you doing with that experience?
So right now I'm basically just taking it as easy as possible without siphoning checking or savings.
So am I paying for dinner tonight?
I hope so. It's the breakup dinner.
Oh wait, you owe me dinner then.
You owe
I
her.
get you Wendy's, isn't that where I work? So I'm actually just I've got people approaching me left and right for things that I am not interested in, but then there's things that I am interested in. Currently, I helped a local business get their cabana bar up and running. So that is like my focus,
Like
more or
consulting.
less. Yeah, I'm consulting, but also like I'm there physically working, but like 3 days a week. But the goal is to get them up and running and have it self-sufficient. They plan on opening a second one, which has already broken ground,
Wow.
which, will parlay, back and forth as far. But my goal is just to get it up and running and put people into place and make it keep going.
Yeah.
So I've got another question for you. If you had it to do all over again, would you still start a restaurant and bar, or would you go into another line of work?
I'm not sure. My creativity, like my brain, like feeds off creativity. So the prospects of ideas is what really entices me, and something that's exciting or new or different is what really like drives me. And this is what drew me to the cabana place, because they built this food truck park from scratch, and then they wanted to add a bar, and they just keep building, and it keeps like growing from this sand lot, which is pretty cool. And it's right on the water, beautiful views, etc. But like their concepts of what they want to do and see it progress is what really intrigues me and makes me want to help them help build that. I have lots of other ideas, and then there's always people throwing ideas at me.
Yeah.
And like building from those to see what direction I end up in. But the artistic and the creativity is what really drives me. So something has to like really, I don't know, just capture my attention more or less.
So Jamie, I'm going to tell you how I found what I did after the store.
Okay.
Just so that I can date how old I am, pre-internet. So I decide that I have to get a job, and I need to hire somebody to sit in the store, because I need to bring in income. And it also is leaning towards, I'm not going to renew my lease. So I'm just trying to live out the rest of my lease, but I don't want to sit there for the end. I knew I didn't want to sit there for the end. I didn't want to watch people pick what I created apart. So I hired somebody to sit in there to listen and watch people pick it apart. But the way I found my job is I opened up the Yellow Pages, a phone book, the Yellow Pages.
What's that?
Yeah, right. I'm going to have to show my son what that is. And then I opened up to software, and I cold called every software company.
Wow.
Until I got somebody.
Wow.
And then I got somebody because his receptionist had gone to lunch. I ended up getting the president of the company, and he was like, "What? Who are you? And where are you?" And I said, "I'm in Jacksonville." And he said, "Well, I'm in Los Angeles right now, but when I get back from Los Angeles, I have got to meet you." And I said, "Okay."
Wow.
And he actually is the one who taught me everything I know about databases, coding, all of that. And his daughters were flower girls in my wedding.
Nice.
So, and then we haven't talked about this.
Yeah.
So, Jamie, you don't have a storefront. but Roger and I have had storefronts, and I imagine, I don't know if you had a loan, but I had a loan, and we had overhead, and we had to deal with lawyers and leases. But also, there are some people that come into your establishment that are interesting. I just want to say I did get robbed.
Oh,
Thankfully, my employee did not get hurt, but I did get robbed. I did have full on just watch somebody walk in, grab a piece of $200 lingerie, and just walk right out. And I was like, oh, sweet. I also went next door to Athletic Attic, and I got held at gunpoint over there when I had all of my Christmas cash in my purse.
Oh wow.
And I handed them my coin purse, not my business purse.
wow.
And so they walked away with $2.50.
Nice. Nice.
So
That
stuff
was
happens. Did you have anything
Quick
like that?
thinking,
Did you
quick
did you have anything like that happen in your restaurant? I mean, 8 years you had to.
No, I mean,
You don't have to say names. Just
no,
8 years.
No, I
Nobody
mean,
drunk. No bar fight. Come on, Roger.
obviously, like the normal day-to-day type things that happen at every bar and restaurant, like, you know,
Cocaine.
sometimes you gotta tell people they're out of line. But no, we never had anything that required, 911.
Well, I had
I
a
know
little.
how to handle a lot.
I
of
had the
things.
little button underneath my counter,
Yeah.
and what also helped me out was I had an agreement with the stores on either side of me, because I was in the store a lot by myself, that I was like, just do a walk by. And that's what happened, is they walked by and they did not see my employee, and they had taken my employee and put her in the dressing
Oh
room.
my god.
And so they walked by, didn't see her, and then immediately walked in and started acting like they were shopping, and brought a bunch of people in to look like they were shopping, and the person jetted out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
wow.
And
No,
they were
definitely-
prosecuted. They were later
definitely
prosecuted.
never had any of
Wow.
that.
So
And my gunpoint guy was prosecuted. Sorry.
wow.
Yeah, never had any of that.
Yeah.
Wow. So Roger,
Yeah.
as we're closing out the interview, is there anything that you would tell someone else who's got an important decision about selling or starting a business that you wish someone had told you, or you could have told your younger self?
So
Let me ask you this
the
before you say that.
decisions-
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Since the name of this is decisions.
Well, let me ask you something. Did you take anything with you as a memento, or did you take any sort of items from your store or from your restaurant?
I have a few things.
You want to tell us a couple of those things, because I think those are important mementos. Those
Yeah.
must have meant a lot to you.
So
I'll tell you
I
what
would
mine is after you
say-
tell me what yours.
Actually, my ex has most of the stuff because she wanted to keep everything, and I didn't want to keep everything. But I would say, like, the most important things that I have that were like kind of unique is one of my longtime employees. We actually worked together for like 12 years before she started working for me. Is she's very artistic and because she made these stools. She did a lot of art stuff that was special just for the restaurant, and I have a few of those things. And then I have a mug, a pewter mug from England that this lady brought me back, who is the rep for my favorite brewery in England.
Oh wow.
So I have that. I have a couple of video games that were just, I don't know if they really mean a lot. Like I feel like technically I lost more than I ever gained.
Aw.
Losing a wife, losing a business, selling a business, etc. But those are the little trinkets that I have, I guess. But
Yeah,
I didn't keep much.
I have. So I found interesting with closing a retail store, when you see those signs that say going out of business, you'd be surprised. People lose their mind. And I remember one time I got this frantic call from my employee, and she's like, they want to know how much the pins are. I'm like, pins? She's like, yeah, I had these little funky craft pins that had a little pear on the end of them. And she was like, how much are they? You didn't price the pins. I'm like, I was like, why does anybody want these pins? But all the money was going towards, paying down that loan.
Yeah.
So I was like, $10. And she was like, okay, they're saying $9. I'm like, oh, well, for $9 for a pin. And then there were some antique items in there. And my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, was like, I think you should keep that. But I needed the money so bad. And I was like, everything must go. And so we did sell that. But the one piece I still have in my house today, which we call our $40,000 bar,
right,
is the countertop where that I sat behind every single day. We ended up painting it black. We put a new countertop on it, and that is the bar we have all of our parties. And then I also kept like a part of the neon sign. I didn't know what to do with the neon sign, so I got rid of that. And then, like a couple of hand painted things, like you mentioned, like some hand painted things that some of my customers were like, I think this would look great in your store. Yeah. And I was like, sure, I'll do that.
And so, you have a ton of lingerie.
Oh, and I kept those bustiers, which is what we put in front of the store on my 40th birthday that we painted apples, peaches, and pears. Those were actually from my store. One other funny thing about my store is that I was hurting so bad for money that when I was dating my husband, he wanted to support the store.
Right.
And so I had these silk boxers, and he had no money because he had just graduated from college. And he brought them up to me, just like so proud of himself. Like, I'm going to buy this from you. Look at me. Like, I'm being so helpful. And I charged him full price. And he still brings that up to this day. Like, I can't even believe I didn't even get a discount. I was like, you were getting me for the rest of your life. Like, nice. You don't get a discount. And
that was the discount.
It all kind of comes around, goes around. And so I know we're trying to wrap it up a little bit. Jami has no idea that Roger and I will continue this journey over some beers, catching up, so that I can make sure he absolutely regrets breaking up with me at Wendy's.
I think that the podcast is just a ruse to bring in all of Lynn's ex-boyfriends. And
there's a lot. I would also like to say, I tried to find it for you, Roger, but I think I mentioned my mom made me create an ex-boyfriend book, and I think you're the first picture in there for that. But I want to wrap it up with my final goodbye to the store that I wrote on my final goodbye. Unless you have something else you wanted to say, Jami. Yeah, I know this was kind of boring.
I know you cut Roger off, and I just want to make sure that he had an opportunity to say whatever he wanted to say before you wrap it up.
She's energetic.
Yes, she is.
Roger, please don't let me cut you off.
It's really sad when I become the responsible one, who's considerate and doesn't interrupt.
You've always been the responsible one.
Not in my other relationships, Lynn. That's why I love you.
Yes, and I do plan on bringing in all my ex-boyfriends. But do you want me to go back to Roger? Should we prompt Roger?
I'll just say one thing real quick.
Let's say something,
So
Roger.
The decision to open or the decision to close, whatever it is that's like driving you for either one of those, you kind of want to like stick to that purpose. Like, whatever your purpose was to make the decision to open, you definitely want to stay focused. And whatever your decision to close, don't just be like, I'm never going to sell. I was like, if we're not going to go out of business, we're going to sell.
Right.
Well, one, we weren't going out of business, but like, if we're going to get rid of it, it's going to be to sell it, not because we went out of business. So you got to stick to that purpose of either opening or closing, whichever one you're at, wherever you are.
Yeah, it's really hard to go into your business day to day when you start questioning what are you doing there. And I think on May 20th, I write, I've decided to sell my business. On June 11th, I say my final goodbye. I say, before I forget how I feel right now, I need to write it all down. I can't take it anymore. I would like to torch this place. It's hard to wake up in the morning and come here, and I need to remember this day in the future. Same day, got the job offer at a software company. Wow. I'm going to close the store for sure. I look around and I imagine how it will feel not to be in the store. And I think about all the extra stuff that will be left over. Steamer, hangers, lots of lingerie. Where am I going to put all that stuff? Will I be able to sell it? I think of practical ways to use the stuff in the store. These will be the longest 3 months of my life. I should be proud that I took a risk. I think that there are a few things I would like to keep. Goodbye, store. And you know, I don't know, when I went and watched You Got Mail, when she closed the store and my husband and I were watching that movie with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, he looked over at me and he's like, oh no. And I was like, I mean, she's walking around. She had all these, you know, she was going to be the book. She was going to be the bookstore around the corner, and then like, boom, she's gone. So I wasn't there that long, but I do feel like that when I drive by it, I do feel like that because it's a computer store, which I find ironic.
I didn't cry. I didn't. I mean, it was just time. It was the right, like, it was the right time.
It's the right time.
I walked away and I was better for it. So.
Of course you are, because you know what? You're here with me. And we are going to go have a beer.
Go get a beer.
Yeah, we are going to have a beer, and I'm not going to cry in my beer. I'm going to celebrate. So, and apparently I'm paying for it. So,
yeah, you are. It's a long drive.
Yeah. Oh, he came from St. Augustine, Jamie. Just so you know.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to wrap it up or you want me to wrap it up. I do want to put a little something out there. We do have a website that you can submit ideas, decisions that you want to hear about. You can also request if you'd like to come on the podcast, and you can submit your diaries and journals all on the same website. Aren't you proud of me, Jamie?
And also throwing in there that if you have a tough decision in front of you and you want Lynn and I to help you make it, we're some wise middle-aged women with some time on our hands. So we'd love to chat with you. And I think I'm going to wrap up today, Lynn, since you talk most of the time. But as we like to say, when you are faced with a decision and you make it and you've gone for it, you got to go forward with no regrets and no do-overs. Thanks for listening.